Let's talk about something that's quietly running the show in the background of our lives, maybe more than we'd like to admit. It's the fear of judgment. It's this powerful, invisible force that guides our choices, what we say and what we do, often without us even clocking that it's there. So let me just ask you this straight up. What if your choices, the ones you think are 100% yours, aren't really? What if they're just you reacting to what you imagine other people are going to think? It's a pretty big question, right? But it gets right to the heart of what we're digging into here.
Because that's what this is. At its core, the fear of judgment is all about how we respond to the imagined opinions of other people. And you've got to catch that keyword, imagined. This isn't usually about someone looking you in the eye and criticizing you. Nope. It's about us predicting and then reacting to what they might think or might say.
And see, that's exactly what makes it such a sneaky, unseen force. We're constantly playing defense against judgments that, a lot of the time, only exist in our own heads. And because it's all happening internally, we almost never stop and ask ourselves, wait a second, is this even real?
So, why on earth is this fear so powerful? I mean, where does it come from? Well, it goes way, way back. It's basically baked into our survival hardware. For our ancestors, being accepted by the tribe meant safety. It meant food, protection. Being rejected? That could literally be a death sentence. So this fear, it's a leftover from that primal, fundamental need to belong.
And here's the kicker. This is the part you really have to get. Even though today, a mean comment on social media isn't going to kill us, our nervous system doesn't know the difference. It still flags that social threat as a full-blown survival threat.
Just think about it for a second. That weird look someone gives you in a meeting, a critical comment online, even just that feeling of being the odd one out in a group, all of those little things can set off the exact same internal alarm system that was designed to protect us from, a saber-toothed tiger. It's an incredibly powerful and automatic response. Okay, so what happens when you're living with that alarm bell ringing all the time? Well, it comes at a really high cost. It forces us into hiding. We start tucking away the real parts of ourselves. And that act of constantly hiding is just mentally and emotionally exhausting. It puts us on stage 24/7. We're in a state of constant performance. Before we say something, we're scanning the room for risk. Before we make a move, we're looking for a nod of approval. So we're always adjusting. We take our true thoughts and we soften them. We take our real opinions and we dial them back, replacing our authentic gut reactions with something more acceptable to everyone else. We are always monitoring, and this constant self-censoring, this mental filtering, it does more than just drain our batteries. It slowly, bit by bit, severs the connection to who we actually are. And over time, the question in our head shifts from, what do I truly want, to the much safer, what will they accept? And this leads us to one of the biggest side effects of all, people-pleasing. Now, let's be super clear here. This is not the same thing as kindness. Kindness comes from a real place of caring for others. People-pleasing, that's a strategy. It's a fear-driven behavior designed for one thing and one thing only, to avoid rejection. This fear also completely messes with our ambitions. We start chasing image-based goals, the job title that sounds impressive, the life that looks good on Instagram, instead of pursuing goals that are genuinely meaningful to us. And the problem is, when you get that thing you were chasing, that achievement without any real alignment, it just feels hollow, empty. And the hidden costs just keep piling up. This fear is what fuels that constant, draining comparison game. It makes us hesitate and delay making big decisions. It weakens our courage. And honestly, it's the #1 recipe for long-term regret. Looking back on a life we were too scared to actually live. But listen, it does not have to be this way, I promise. We can actually make a conscious shift. We can stop looking for approval out there and start finding it in here. It's all about taking the power back from those imaginary judges in our heads. And here is the first massive realization that can change everything. You know that spotlight you feel is always on you? It's pretty much self-imposed. The truth is, people are the main characters in their own stories. They are way, way more worried about their own lives, their own problems, than they are about yours. So the real move here is to separate your worth from their approval. See, when your self-worth is tied to what other people think, it's totally unstable. It's like building your house on sand. It creates constant anxiety. But when you anchor your worth internally, it becomes stable. It's self-determined. And that right there is where real freedom begins. Suddenly, all that external judgment just becomes background noise.
So this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the most important actionable step. It's about making the choice every single day to be real over being liked. And remember, this is a practice. It's not a one-and-done kind of fix.
So what does that path look like? Well, first, just like we talked about, you consciously decide to separate your worth from what others think. Second, you start practicing small acts of honesty. I'm not talking about some huge dramatic confrontation. Just share a real opinion or set a tiny boundary. Every time you do that, you build a little more inner strength, proving to yourself that it's safe to be you. And third, when you're at a crossroads, you actively choose what feels aligned with you, not what you think will get the most applause.
Because ultimately, this whole thing boils down to changing the default question you ask yourself. It's about making a pivot away from what will they think and toward the much, much more powerful question, what feels true to me? That one little shift in focus can change absolutely everything. And this, right here, is the thought I want to leave you with. The goal isn't to be liked by every single person. That's impossible anyway. And it's not about becoming immune to judgment. The greatest freedom in the world is giving yourself permission to just be authentic, to be real. And that's a choice you can start making for yourself right now.